Hello, hello. Your mute's on, your camera's not on. I can't see you. And you're
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Do I have to go to Zoom or just push this OK button?
I think you just have to push the OK button, whatever you did. Something.
We
Yeah, there
there?
you go. There we go. Good job.
Let me see. I got a different view here.
Yeah, there we go. Now we're side by side. I've tried
Okay.
to mess around with the let me look at the gallery, or let me look at the different views.
Okay.
The last one, it was kept doing us like when I would speak, it would show me, and then when you would speak, it would show you, which is fine, but I like this way better. Okay, yeah, let's leave it like this. Perfect.
How's it?
Yeah.
I got a little platform now. I don't have to hold it.
Yeah, I
How's
was
that?
wearing your arm out, holding it for the whole time.
No, I had my elbow on the table, and
Mm.
it was the same height, but no, I wasn't wearing it out too bad. I
Wow,
was so
Rob Reiner, huh? Jeez.
oh God, I'm devastated.
I know, it's
Um,
terrible, man. Jeez.
Meathead, uh, Princess Bride, Jesus, Spinal Tap goes to 11. Jesus Christ.
So many diverse
He was,
movies too.
the thing that got me was they were all different, all his
Yeah,
movies.
very
Uh,
different.
the Lost Boys, no, Stand By Me, and then he went
Yeah.
to Harry Met Sally. Uh, every
Few
movie,
good men. Few good men.
yeah, and that was nominated for Best Picture too. The guy he was a genius, he really was.
Yeah, and
And
he
he
was
was,
very politically active too, you know. Good
yeah,
good guy. Jeez. Wow.
but
Crazy. They got his
they,
son, the son.
yeah, I can't believe that the kid was on drugs or something. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
horrible way to go, man. Stabbing.
oh,
Jeez.
I know it's in from your own whatever people in your house that you know, maybe Lloyd or Joe or somebody. But Jesus,
God, I was sick for a week, man. Jeez.
what'd you
Wow.
have?
I don't know, just whatever's going around, but it was like a lot of congestion. You know, thought I was gonna have to go to the doc, like actually go to the hospital a couple times, but
Get that mucilage. You know that
Mhm.
a long time ago, I was using a Robitussin, and there was just a one certain kind. It was a DM or something.
Mhm.
This one's different. This loosens me up, and it's an expectorant. It's called. So I looked it up, and it's got this gualfenicin in it. And I said, "Well, what the hell is this gualfenicin?" And it's an herb from South America. It's kind of like a mate or something.
Huh. That's
Yeah, now
interesting.
yeah, it started in Robitussin, and now they branched off and they've got mucinich. It's in mucinich, and other cough medicines are using it now too. But yeah, and that was 20, 30 years ago, man. So
Yeah.
that I that I got onto it. But so you feeling better though, huh?
Yeah, I am. I'm back in action. So once it starts going the other way, once you start actually feeling better, you know, you're not getting any worse. That's when as long as it turns
Get
around.
get used to taking mega vitamin C. I had a guy that was a trainer, And he said after workouts, like, your muscles get sore. He said to prevent the soreness, take mega vitamin C. And
Mhm.
well, I figured that, they use they called the British sailors limeys because they would get scurvy so bad that
Mhm.
their gums and their teeth would rot. So they started carrying these big buckets or barrels of limes from the eat and had the vitamin C in it and prevents them from getting. Well, it's good for your teeth. It's good for your gums. It's good for your
Yeah.
muscles. So I don't know. Maybe you're already doing it, but get a
Yeah.
thousand milligrams.
I got to start taking my more vitamins and stuff, just being
Just to
healthier.
see at least because and then you get the chewables and they're actually good. It's almost like candy, and you can get gummies too now. But so anyway, just something that I
Yeah.
do. I take them 4 or 5 times a day, 1,000 milligrams at a time, because your body can't store it. Your body just either pees it out or sweats it out or
Oh,
whatever. But
huh. I didn't know that.
yeah, but give it a try. See,
Yeah,
it's
I
not too
will. I will. All right,
expensive.
so we'll get started here. The
Yeah.
shorter videos do better. So that's the kind of
Okay.
like I'm looking at the trends and looking at the, different patterns.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the
Maybe sticking to one subject a little
yeah,
longer than
yeah,
doing
and
it.
and just we're going to try to keep it at 15 minutes
Yeah.
today. I don't know if we can, but I try to cut them down, but the shorter videos just I don't know if it's like the people see how long it is and they think they don't want to make the commitment to it. It
Yeah.
seems like that's like got something to do with it. It's well, then also the clips that I've been cutting up or they're being created from the long form.
Yeah.
They're doing really well on TikTok. TikTok is a different. It's just a
Yeah.
different. I guess
Yeah.
younger, and it's just like their attention span is just so short.
Yeah.
It's just like, but those clips are doing really well we get a lot of engagement on
Any any comments yet?
there's quite a few on TikTok. I haven't like just a lot of positive likes and comments and things on TikTok on the short form. But
That
no, the
one's that.
engagement, that's the thing. I'm doing some more research on YouTube. There's not any engagement, which is just weird because you'd think there would be some. Maybe we're not saying anything controversial enough for, it's just more informational. So I don't know. I'm doing some more research into
Well,
it.
it's funny because I was looking at music on YouTube, and there's comments about the music, under each video.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and you would think there'd just be somebody
people, yeah,
clapping back and saying, that's not right, but I guess it's kind of hard to do that when you're telling a story, and you're kind of, speaking from your own experience. It's different. There's not a lot of people that do that. Well, the more successful people on YouTube do that. They talk about their own experiences as opposed to trying to just disseminate information. So,
I
from
guess
what
it's the human story, the human aspect of it. I guess is what's
Yeah, and
interesting.
it's also I think there's just instant credibility if you're talking about something that you've done, as
Yeah,
opposed to just saying, "Oh, I read this in a book," or just
yeah.
disseminating information that you learned somewhere else, but not in a
Well,
real world experience. So anyway, so where we left off last time was you had obtained the roaster from your old partner from
yeah.
American River Coffee Roasters,
Mhm.
and you guys did that in a commando style raid, which is just
Yeah,
like I'm
mission
surprised they didn't call. Did they call the cop? They didn't ever call the cops, right? So did
no,
Jim did your partner ever show up and
yeah, he did. He showed up. Well, the guy that was working there, Ron. We went in a half hour early, and then because I didn't know Jim was going to be there or not,
uh,
but right before closing, so I had a hunch that we'd catch him off guard. So Jim wasn't there, but he had a guy working there, Ron. And when Ron saw us come in, he called him immediately. And by that time, I went to the parts that I knew would disable the roaster, the throttle and, certain parts. So I knew once I got the operable parts that, it's kind of a done deal. But anyway, Jim came in and he tried to get us to stop. And I remember he grabbed Danny
Uh,
around the neck, and Danny just kind of threw him off.
was he a big guy or was he? I mean, what did he?
Well, he was tall. I mean, he was taller than Danny, but he was slender.
Yeah,
He wasn't, he wasn't bulky or anything. He wasn't, in physically that
yeah.
strong. And,
How
he
old a
was.
man was he at the time? Probably in his.
That's a good question. I don't know. He might have been. Let's see. Shit, I was almost. I was in my mid 30s,
Yeah.
36. And he must have been about the same age. Like I said before, he had been to Vietnam,
Okay, so
and
yeah, he's probably in. Yeah,
yeah,
around
and
that.
he was an officer. He was an officer. I'm pretty sure, at least that's what he told me, that he was an officer in the army because he was in the reserves for sure.
Mhm.
Um, so anyway, he wasn't a great big guy, and I don't know. Danny just whether
But
we
he
had.
didn't call the police. I think that.
Well, he knew that it was that it wasn't his roaster. He knew that I
Yeah.
owned it, and he knew that he hadn't been paying on it. So
So that's
um,
probably why he didn't call. And he also may have had other reasons not to call too. And maybe he wasn't
yeah,
running everything there above board too, right? Or do you think he was doing all the things he was supposed to be doing there? Or
I
was
think I
he?
talked him down a little bit because I told him, look, we can work something out. I told him, we
Mhm.
can work a deal where you could use the roaster, or I can roast for you, or
You kind of dangled
and
a olive branch or a carrot.
yeah, and I told him, why don't we get together? I think this was a Friday too, because they said, why don't we talk on Tuesday, and we'll work something out. But um, yeah, I don't think he was that interested in it, and I had already pretty much had a verbal thing with Tom that we were gonna, form a company.
Yeah.
And,
So Tom, just to kind of recap, Tom was the person you guys were selling coffee to Tom.
yeah, he had a company called Sterling Office Coffee Service, and he sought us out because, like I said, his girlfriend that he knew from school had lived in San Francisco, and she was very familiar with Peet's coffee. Peet's was
Yeah.
going
So
great
she had that in
places.
her head.
Yeah, and she said,
And
"Why?
he
Why?"
knew about pizza as well, right? Probably, yeah,
Well,
it's probably where he
let's put it in perspective. He was selling
uh,
Maxwell House. He was drinking Peet's. So, and I don't know if they were living together. I don't think they were. They might have been. But if he's serving Maxwell House at home and she's used to Peet's, I'm
yeah.
surprised she didn't dump his sorry ass at that time.
I always liked Sandra though. Sandra was always kind of
He was good.
always a very positive, very friendly, nice person to me always. So I don't know if that,
Sandra Singer, yeah.
yeah. So
She
let's keep moving here. You got all the parts of the roaster. You got out that day, and then you put it in the warehouse, in Tom's warehouse, is where you took the
yeah,
Tom,
yeah.
Tom Weborg's warehouse, which is the Sterling Coffee warehouse.
Yeah, he was in the South area somewhere, and he, like I said, he was in the office coffee service, and he had actually been selling coffee to the governor's office, which forced us to go to La Bouche.
So it's kind of like, if you think about it, the quality of his coffee being so poor is what sent you outside the governor's office
Yeah,
to go down the street and kind of sent you on your journey to
precisely.
find other kinds of coffee. And so it's kind of like a bit of a
Full circle.
serendipitous, so full circle moment there. Anyway,
Right.
so he at that point you've got the roaster. Have you already signed the lease on 18th and Capitol at this point?
No, no,
Okay.
We we had decided to meet once a week to hammer out a new business. And the roaster was in pieces. It was in parts. I had some in my garage here in Roseville, and the big part, we stored it at his warehouse in the back of his warehouse. And I remember he took the forklift and lifted it up on a shelf.
Uh-huh.
He was trying to hide it in a way,
In
and
case they
I had
came looking for it.
yeah, but nobody was looking for it.
It-
I
it-
mean, I had the paperwork on it. I had
yeah,
the
you owned it, so there wasn't, it's not like you guys stole anything or yeah.
yeah.
So now the next thing is you guys got to get it. Well, the first thing is to get an agreement together. Did you guys come up with a verbal agreement? This is for people that are watching this that, we're telling a story here, but I also want to make sure that we're going into detail enough that if somebody, is interested in business or interested in
That's the tricky part.
you know,
Yeah.
find out and interested in using this information to start a business, that we get into enough detail to help with that as well. So, did you guys hammer out like a 50-50 type agreement out of the
Yeah, well,
verbally?
we had to kind of you have to kind of guess or do calculations or estimates on what it's going to cost, and originally we were just going to wholesale coffee, and he was going to carve out a spot in his warehouse for a roaster. We would hook it up. It had a drain, and you would need water supply, gas
Yeah,
supply, electrical supply.
but not someplace that people were going to come and
No, no,
sit.
we weren't going to do retail. He did not want to do retail. I had
You weren't in total love with it at that point either, were you? I mean, you were kind of scared of it too, right?
I did like the retail. I liked the interaction with the customers, as few as they were over there on J Street.
Uh,
But it convinced me that the quality of the coffee would bring in people. I
mhm.
mean, I think I said what got me was it kept in the back of my mind. I kept thinking about these Mercedes and Jaguars and these upscale cars that these people would come
Yeah,
in,
they
mostly
could
women,
afford
and
it.
they would buy the coffee and they'd come back and then I'd run out because I was only doing 4 pounds at a time and I try and get a supply, but they'd buy everything. They'd come in and give me, 4 or 5 pounds at a time, and
So
I'd have
yeah,
yeah.
so then you go for so where was the when was the decision made to actually look for a retail location? Like where did
Well,
you go away from the idea of it being a warehouse
yeah.
in his warehouse?
Let me go back just a bit about the agreement. It took
Yeah.
we opened we hammered we went forward without the agreement. We were talking to an attorney. Basically, it was his attorney, and
Hmm.
because we didn't know what it was going to cost because were just going to do wholesale. Then we decided to possibly do retail. And I had already talked to people. Well, the guy that sold me the roaster, he knew a lot about coffee roasting, and he was based in Redwood City in San Francisco. And so I told Tom, I said, maybe we need to talk to this guy. I said I could arrange for us to go to San Francisco. He knows he'd been all over the country selling coffee roasters and, talking. He had shop stuff that people could use to set up retail shops. So
He
I
was
said, let me
he
sit.
was selling all that stuff. It's espresso machines and stuff like that
Yeah,
as well. That's
yeah,
Jay
but
Indris. What was the name of his company again? Coffee Tech?
um, Coffee Tech, I think he's still got it going. It's called I think it is called Coffee Tech.
Yeah, I think it is too.
It might
So
not have been called Coffee Tech back then.
I'll look it up and I'll clarify or put it in the in the
Yeah.
notes. So you guys went down and you met with him, and he sell? So he kind of sold Tom on the idea. Is that what
Yeah, we
happened?
met at the Hyatt in Embarcadero, and he came up. I had a room there, and
In San
um,
Francisco, right? Down in San
yeah,
Francisco.
in
Yeah.
Embarcadero. Yeah, it's a nice. It used to be really nice. I think it still is. It's was first class. So anyway, we spent about geez, a long time. Jay's a pretty good talker, good salesperson.
Yeah.
I think we spent 4 or 5 hours talking about the market, which was basically it was only Peet. Starbucks hadn't even opened. They had a kiosk in Seattle. I mean, that's all they were doing. And Pete's was doing. He had 2 or 3 stores, and
Down in Emeryville?
yeah, I was in
Yeah.
Berkeley, maybe
Berkeley.
Henry. It's still open,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
remember.
Berkeley.
I think before, after we talked to Jay, we said, "Well, we need to take a." We were in the hotel about 5 hours. He laid it out, and we're driving back, and Tom was thinking, "Well, you think we ought to do this, huh?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, we're going to have to find a location." Well, I had already been scouting locations in Sacramento,
Mm.
thinking that maybe we needed a bigger place or, just a better location because the J Street location was really small. And I remembered going to 18th and Capitol, and it was 1,600 square feet. And so we're driving back, and I said, "Well, there's a place over here on Capitol Street, 18th. I think it's on 18th, and that's where it was." And man, I said, "Okay." So he made a left turn. I'll never forget. He made a left turn, and we drove over there, and it was an empty building, and one of the oldest buildings in Sacramento, I think. And we walked around it, and
Yeah.
we
It
called
must
the
have been pretty impressive though of the oak tree there still. Like there was a massive oak tree there on the corner.
seen the pictures. It was an old brick building, and a brick has a quaintness to it, a charm,
Timelessness to it.
a
Yeah.
warmth to it. And then,
And it was on a
uh,
corner, so it's on the corner and you've got windows on both sides, right?
three
Yeah.
blocks, 3 blocks from Capitol Park, Capitol Avenue. It's the main drag in Sacramento. The Capitol is on Capitol Avenue,
So
and
were you guys both on board right from the beginning?
yeah, we looked at it and said, "Wow, this is a pretty good spot." But at that time, that neighborhood was, it was pretty run down and was sparse.
Yeah.
There was a painting store across the street, Waldo Bowers. I'll never forget it, Waldo Bowers. And I don't want to digress on it, but I got a little story about that too. And anyway, so we looked at it. So let's get a hold of the owners, and I can't remember. Oh, Rick Stevenson, and his sister Pinky, and the mother was still alive. She lived next door, as a matter of fact. I can't remember her first name. Really nice lady. And
What was in there before? Like what had gone out of business?
I
You
don't know.
know? It had been so it was just vacant. There was nothing in there.
Yeah. There was some equipment, but I can't remember. It was right next to a Greek deli on the other side. Part of the building was a Greek deli, which may or may not still be open. And I don't know how many square feet. It wasn't very much in there, but we would have had 1,600 square feet. And I'm embarrassed to tell you how much it was a square foot. It was 50 cents a foot.
Oh my God. So you guys are paying under $1,000 a month?
800 a month on Capitol and 18th Street.
Oh my God. Wow.
A wine bar on the corner was called Frescoes or something. The kid that ran it, his father was a state senator. I can't remember Ayala or something. Anyway, so there wasn't much going on in the neighborhood, and I thought, wow, I had worked at the Capitol, so I figured, well, we'll get the people going to work at the state in the morning to pick up their coffee, and we'll get them on the way home when they want to pick their coffee beans to take home.
Yeah. So that's what you're thinking. You're thinking that's where we're going to get. You knew that from working at the Capitol, what the patterns were, and you
Well,
knew
the
you were
fact,
going to get a certain amount of you were going to get a certain amount of foot traffic and car traffic.
yeah, I'll tell you the
Just
price.
to tell everybody, I mean, probably nothing more. The most important thing, the most important aspect of a retail location is the ease of access and the traffic, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if you don't
they
have
had on
people are lazy,
it.
so they're not going to go out of their way for the most part to come and
It
find
was on.
you. Or,
Yeah, it was on street parking, so there was no garage, but people could pull over, like a drive-through. You could just pull up
yeah,
to the curb, jump out, and go in and grab a coffee. We were going to do cappuccinos and stuff at first, and then it was just going to be coffee by the cup, and then whole bean if you want to take it with you. So I figured we'd get the legislators and the legislative staff and the people that worked in the area because there are a lot of government buildings in that area. And what really surprised me was it was when we opened. In fact, it was December 15th, 1985, the day we opened. And what really surprised me the first month and then 2 or 3 months after were the neighbors, the people that lived in the apartment houses that never came out, especially at
Uh,
night. So, at first we were only going to stay up until 5, and then it became 6, and pretty soon it was 8, but people wanted to hang out.
yeah,
They had nowhere to go
let's go
downtown.
back. I want to go back before we get into like the traffic and what it was like. You guys
Yeah.
didn't know any of that was going to happen, but you had a suspicion that there was going to be enough traffic, foot traffic, and um, car traffic in order to, get you guys going.
Yeah, I figured we get the morning business at least. And, but I worked in the Capitol for 8 years, and what happened in the downtown back then was if you didn't get something to eat by 2 o'clock, you couldn't find a restaurant or anything that
Hmm.
was open after 2. They'd close for 4 hours maybe and reopen at 6 or 7. You know, so there was nowhere to go after 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So people would come out in the afternoon. Other than Lebu was, yeah, I think they were open past 2, but they didn't serve anything substantial for eat to eat. But anyway, so that kind of was an attraction too. Plus, we were only 3 blocks from the Capitol.
So you guys
Uh,
made the decision to do it. You're getting it for 50 cents a square foot. So you've got under $800 a month in, you
yeah,
know, uh,
imagine.
you've got $800 a month in rent, which is nothing. Um,
Yeah,
and you and Tom, but you don't have an agreement yet. You guys haven't talked about percentages, or did you guys have
yeah.
like an initial agreement, or did you guys put together a budget?
No,
Uh,
we had a handshake and a verbal agreement, but we actually opened without a legal agreement. We actually opened. We hadn't signed an agreement for 2 3 months after we opened. Um, and we probably don't want to go into that right now. But
Yeah, we don't need to go into you guys because think there was some difficulty there where you
well,
guys
was
had.
the question was who's bringing what to the table? I
Yeah.
had the roaster, I had the knowledge. The big question was the question mark was I had been roasting for maybe a year, maybe a little over a year. He wasn't sure. He said, You better not be BSing about being able to roast coffee because not everybody." It's like riding a bike, but I wasn't 100% sure either. I thought,
Yeah.
hmm,
Yeah.
but and I,
Well, how many times have you roasted on the 50-pound roaster at that point?
oh hell,
Because that
God,
was we go back to you were using a 4-pound roaster and you went from 4 to 50. That's
yeah,
huge.
it probably was a year, because I started in probably roasting, might have been 83 or the beginning of 84, and then we opened Java City in 85. So I had, it was trial and error with that. I don't know if you've seen a picture of it, but it was an intimidating piece of
Yeah, I know. I
equipment.
remember it. I used to see it all the time, like the roaster. So it was
Yeah, you,
huge. It looked like a
yeah,
piece of it looked like a piece of like farm equipment or something. I mean, it was like a big piece of it's hard to describe how what it looked like,
you
but
got
it was very
to.
intimidating looking piece of equipment. It wasn't small.
I'll get a picture of it next time. Yeah, I'll hold it up. You'll be able to see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but the thing you got to remember that roaster at that time was at least 75, 65 years old. maybe even older because it was a German roaster, came from Germany,
Wow.
and the newer roasters they don't make the drums out of cast iron. It's too
Yeah.
hard, too expensive. I mean, if you can get a drum that's got cast iron, man, grab it, buy it. I mean, just get the drum. I'm sure I find somebody to build a roaster around it. But but it was a I don't want to say Willy Wonka. It was more like a Rube Goldberg type of control. But it
So,
was
okay.
fascinating.
Wait, I want to get back to you guys. So you guys open up. Well, let's go back because there's a lot of steps in between here. When was the
Okay.
decision made to do espresso based coffee drinks?
Well, the three of us, Tom's girlfriend and Sandra's, Tom and I, we decided.
Was she involved in a like a
Yeah,
dating?
she was she'd been around San Francisco, so she'd seen coffee shops. So she kind of had a he knew nothing. He was afraid to do retail. He didn't want
Yeah.
to he was
Was she
intimidated by it.
pushing toward retail as well, though?
Oh
She
yeah.
wanted that. Yeah.
Yeah. The big question was to do espresso and cappuccino, to buy an espresso machine.
Yeah.
So we took Karen Ewing came on board as a retail manager, and she had worked at Lebu with Trong.
Okay.
And
Okay.
something happened. They parted ways, and she was available. And so she had quite a bit of experience in retail sales,
Did
and also
Labu
man.
have an espresso machine at that point?
Yeah, I think they did. I'm
They
pretty sure
did.
they did.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's where that kind of made the decision is you're bringing her on.
Well, she was convinced. She convinced us in it too. And after
Okay.
talking to Jay, and then Karen came on, I was against it because they're messy. You got to clean
Yeah.
them. They're time consuming. They take up a lot of power, a lot of electricity. They're expensive
Well,
for
they could
one
also
thing.
distract from the main, focus point too, being
Yeah,
coffee, being the roasting.
yeah.
But I mean, that was before this, there was any Starbucks or before Pete's probably wasn't even doing espresso at that point.
I'm not sure. I don't think they were. I remember we drove down there to look at coffee shops in the Bay Area, and the first stop, of course, was Pete's. And it was a Saturday, and there was a line around the block to get in to Pete. And we went around the side of the building, and the guy he had these garbage can. I don't know how big they were. They weren't 55 gallons, but they're 30, 35 gallon garbage full of coffee. And he was bringing them in from a roasting facility that was not on the premise there. And I said, well, hey, where'd you get that coffee? And he goes, oh, from the roaster on the corner. I said, well, how many pounds do you go through a day? He goes, oh, 1,100 pounds a day, thereabout. I go,
Wow.
we looked at each other and goes, I think this is a business that we want to be in, right?
Yeah.
1,100 pounds, now that's a joke, really, 1,100. So,
Wow.
yeah, by the time I left Java City, we were doing 2,000 pounds a day. Yeah, just in
So
the region. Yeah, go ahead.
so now there's really four of you at this point, three partners, and then
Yeah.
Karen, and then Sandra, which is Tom's girlfriend, who was a partner, but sort of not an official partner, but a partner on his like with
Yeah,
his.
we didn't work out the
Describe that relationship. Was she a partner or was she not?
really at the beginning. It was just Tom and I, and then she came in with her background and experience, and he said, well, we're going to break this down. He said, I'd like to give her a percentage, 5%. And I said, yeah, no problem. I was not interested in money at the time or percentages. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I knew, I'm uh, my mind doesn't work that way. I mean, okay, yeah, sure, no problem.
Well, you don't know what it's
Uh,
going to be worth. Those percentages. You couldn't assign a value to them yet.
100% of nothing is nothing, right?
Yeah.
So,
So it's
my
whatever it takes to get it done. Whatever it
yeah,
takes to.
we had no idea. We had no idea that how uh, big it was going to get or how popular. But
Yeah.
there's three things that you can be. Remember, you can be the first on the market, you can be the biggest on the market, or you can be the best on the market. Well,
No, no, no,
the
no.
two,
It's three. The first, the best, and the only. First, best, or only.
yeah,
If you're two of those, you're
yeah,
golden.
we weren't any of them. The only thing I was
If you're
confident of,
any one of those, you're doing well. If you're two of them, and you guys were the first, the best, and the only,
well, eventually, yeah, we weren't.
yeah,
If you put it up, we actually kept Pete's out of Sacramento. We kept Starbucks out of
for a
Sacramento.
long time, for a long
Long
time.
time, long time. And so anyway, yeah. So really, we hadn't decided what the breakdowns were going to be. We hadn't decided what the capitalization was going to be because I had the roaster. He was going to put money in that. He'd sold him and his dad had sold a company, and he was like a what do you call him, a venture angel. I mean, he had bankroll, and so I had to decide what how it was going to break down. What was my
Yeah.
worth, what bringing to the table, what was he going to bring? Well, he had uh, sales. He sold coffee, but he was selling, like I said, Maxwell House. So we each had some expertise. Mine was roasting and production and organization. You know, customer service. I think I told you last time when we opened that day. I felt that everything I'd done in my life up to that point had prepared me for that day on December 15th.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean,
That's
that was
actually
it.
today, really. It's
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
Actually, it's been ironically, that's 50, what, 50 years? No, 40.
40, 40, come on.
40 years ago. 40 years
Yeah,
ago today. Today.
today
Today's
we opened
December 15th.
right before
Wow.
Christmas.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was
Ironic.
exciting. And we, created a buzz right away. But we
So
were closing.
when did you guys do your agreement? That's what I want to get down to, like, okay,
We
what
were working on it. We were meeting and stuff. And then it was 2 or 3 months after we opened. It was in the spring. It was in probably I put my first investment in 1982, and I mean that was 4 years up until 86 before we had our agreement, and we had opened the business. So we hammered it out. I had to borrow
what did
some
he
money.
put in? So like what was the capitalization? What did all in, what did it cost you to
It was,
open
I think it was about 140,000.
140, and that includes the value of the roaster, whatever you guys put it, or whatever you'd put into the roaster, and then
Yeah, I remember I borrowed 20,000. My mom put a second mortgage on her house, and I borrowed 20,000
uh
to bring my end of it up. And he had money in the bank because him and his father had sold a business. So yeah, I
so
paid my,
so it's
yeah,
140, and
yeah, about
then
100 in total.
and
Oh,
that so you guys
he
worked
loaned,
out the
yeah, and I think,
percentages. What was it? You were 40, he was 50, and then Karen was 10.
yeah, that
That
was
was
about it. Yeah,
the final
and
breakdown.
yeah, I think he did. He loaned the company, I think 20,000 on a note. He got paid back right away after we broke even. We broke even. You got to figure that in too. When are you going to break even? Because you're going to have
Yeah.
to do debt service until you break even, and it's kind of on a sliding scale too, because the more successful you get, your expenses are going to get more. Yeah,
Yeah.
you bring revenue, but you're not keeping your outlay the
So what
same.
kind of numbers were you doing on like daily retail wise when you first opened? Like the first
God,
month, what were you
I
doing?
don't remember. We picked up a couple wholesale accounts, so we were doing wholesale too. I used to go in and roast the coffee in the morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'd package the coffee, at the same time wait on customers, counter work, and bag the coffee, put it in my Honda, and
Yeah.
drop it off on my way home. I was a delivery guy too.
Yeah.
So I remember the numbers total we were doing. I mean, we got to break even. It was in August of that year, which was,
Of
uh,
86.
yeah, phenomenal at that time. But that was after we did the poetry reading and the week, 1 week's worth of 24/7 poetry reading, and they got a lot of press, and that brought a lot of people in.
So did you guys have employees when you first opened, or was it just you and Karen and
We
you?
had two or three. We had two or three. I'd warm the roaster up and brew the coffee at the same time. We had a person come in to do the espresso and cappuccinos and stuff.
And that was
Uh,
Karen was helping, or Karen was hiring, had hired that person and
it
was,
might have been Jan. It might have been Jan, who her sister.
uh,
Um, but then we had to get somebody for the afternoon too.
yeah.
So
So, and you initially, did you guys just stay open until 5 or
yeah, it
did
was
you
5 or 6
always?
because nobody would come out after 6 o'clock. It was the middle of winter, it was December, and
Yeah.
people didn't go out of their apartments after dark. I closed it up right there. Had to lock up occasionally and or open up in the morning, and it was nobody around. I mean, it was kind of scary in a way,
Yeah.
you know, downtown, and we didn't. It wasn't well lit. We didn't have a lot of outdoor lighting, and but I got the neighborhood really pulled us up. I mean, there were people living in apartments that we didn't realize, that they were there, and they were coming from all over the downtown. What do they call it now? The
The
Lodo
th
or whatever.
yeah. Well,
Anyway,
it's the third place, like they talk about, it's not your home, it's not your work, it's the third place you feel as comfortable as
and
the other
this
two places. It's what
no, it was
years and years ago it was the corner bar, or
yeah,
the corner diner in the morning where you'd come and sit at the at the counter, have a cup of
read the
coffee.
paper. People come on the Saturdays. We once we started putting chairs outside, people would come and sit outside, read the Bee or the at that time the Union was still going, Sacramento Union. So yeah, the neighborhood really was encouraging, really uplifting to see all the people come out of the neighborhood. But we were getting the state people on the way home. Legislators really liked that place. I met a lot of legislators I hadn't met when I worked in the Capitol, and a lot of attorneys, a lot of lawyers, and professional people.
Yeah, so there was a lot of professional support and
Well,
so going into let's I think where we'll end for today is where when you guys were how did the poetry reading because the poetry reading the poetry marathon is what it was kind of
yeah.
changed everything. It put you guys on the map. Whose idea? How did that come about?
Well, I had met Barry Kennedy over at the J Street American River location,
Hmm.
and he's a local poet, Barry Kennedy. I think he's passed away not too long ago, and he knew guys like Steve Benoni and Arthur. I can't remember his last name. Anyway, they were poets, and they said they wanted to break some kind of a record for
Hmm.
continuous. It was 24/7. It went all night, all
So
day.
I don't want to get into. I don't want to tell it. I just want to do the setup. We'll do the
Yeah,
coffee roast or the coffee poetry. The poetry marathon will be our next episode. We'll do that, and then because that really all of a sudden you guys were open later, and things really did. I remember around that things really changed. So
they put us on.
let's get into that in the next episode, and we'll really get into some more of like the challenges you guys faced. And then at what point when you start to look at, you've got this one location that is blow, it's blowing up, it's really creating a lot of waves. How do you make that decision? to in
Yeah.
the next episode, we're going to go into how you make the decision to have a second location, or where do you go for expansion, and how do you start to think about expanding?
Yeah.
Um,
I'll
you know,
give
from
you
there.
what do they call that when you give them a tease? I'm going to give you a
Yeah, yeah,
tease.
yeah.
It,
Uh,
the
I,
second was Weatherstone. So if you remember that, we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, so Weatherstone is still the oldest coffee shop in
In
Sacramento,
fact,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So teaser for the next episode, we're going to go into expansion. When do
Yeah.
you know, and how did you make the decision to expand? And then we'll talk about Weatherstone and how Weatherstone played a part in that. So
Eventually, we'll get to the coffee uh, production,
yeah,
choosing the beans, different countries. You sat through a 4 hour class, and
yeah,
um, and and you know that I'm pretty sure, but I was doing 80 to 100 people towards the end of the class. I mean, the end of the run, and 4 hours went pretty fast. I mean, because there's a
yeah,
lot to cover.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
if people are interested, we can talk about all of that and experiences in different countries and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, we're going to go into all that. We're going to go into, and actually, probably what we'll do is do the I'd like to do the coffee class, like actually kind of, go through all the material in the coffee class.
Okay,
And
we have enough time. You know what I'll do? I'll dig out a picture of the roaster, and you can show that next time.
yeah, let's
The
do that.
the God Hot.
All
Um,
righty. Well, let's wrap up for today, and that's it. We'll see you next week.
all
Bye.
right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Let me stop this here.
Yeah. Don't